When you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you'll get to see when we're releasing new episodes as well as hear the teasers. Just type in Unshaved Podcast. On our last episode, my next guest, Darryl. So when were you introduced to the idea that
I basically found out he wasn't my biological
I was wondering if there's something that streamlines all of these different experiences.
Like you saying, you got to get a God of your own, so that's what I did. I grew up in Southeast DC.
Was that something that you realized that you were kind of running away from?
You know what I'm saying? Like, they can say what they want, they can do what they want, and I just accept them for who they are.
We have to accept that in all of our experiences, we are the common denominator.
You know what I'm saying? It just was a progression, and that's how it happens, once you get in it, and, you like it, you keep going, and that's how it progresses, you know what I'm saying?
I could understand why that would have such an impact and be such a pivotal moment in evaluating.
I thought of that I ain't have acceptance with early on, but that one tragic moment,
Hey, welcome to Unshaved. I'm Takesha, and this podcast came to be simply because I wanted to archive conversations between me and my mother. And because we talked about pursuing a creative project together for a long time now, I just figured starting a podcast would kind of fit the bill for both. Our lives and relationship have had many twists, turns, highs, and lows, and the way we've gotten through them always started with raw conversations. We're consistently pursuing a deeper understanding of not only each other and our relationship, but also of ourselves. If the topics and conversations explored in this space help you to navigate your journey in any way, then that's even better. So whether it's just myself or if I'm joined by my mom or other guests, you can expect content that is explorative, honest, and maybe even just a little bit outside the lines. Welcome to Unshaved. Thank you to those of you who are returning listeners, as well as to those of you tuning in for the first time. In this second of 4 parts of my conversation with my guest Darryl, he shares his experiences and insights on how he came to understand the necessity of acceptance in his life.
You can't change nobody. People got to change themselves. And it took me a while to get to that point to accept people where they at. You know what I'm saying? If you deal with somebody, they got a certain characteristics about themselves, and it's like that all the time. That's just who they are, and they can't change it. You can't change it. They got to change that. So, I just think that acceptance piece play a big part in everyday life, man, because it's a lot of things that go on. Like you say, some of the things we can change and some of them we can't. We just got to accept it because it is what it is, So I got to that point, man. I said, now I see what they're talking about. Acceptance is the key to the question. Acceptance is the answer to all my questions. That's a good one.
It is.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that one. I like that one. So,
you're bringing up so many different topics. And so I'm trying to just wrap my mind around what something that I can focus on. I mean, it's a lot of depth to what you're saying. And so I'm just trying to navigate it in a way where, I can stay focused on what, the quote that we were talking about. But if we move outside of that, that's perfectly fine. And I'm not trying to harp on the addiction or anything like that. But you said that you had to accept that you were an addict. And I don't know what that means for you. When you say I had to accept that I was an addict, because we can say
so. Because what that mean to me is like, because first I thought like when I was using, I was just using, but when I got to the addict point, what I'm speaking of is the things I was doing to acquire the drugs, like stealing, robbing, and you know what I'm saying? So when I got to that point, that's when I accept the fact, like, yeah, you really had it, man, because you doing all this stuff, to get, what you need to get high off and all this stuff. So yeah, you know.
Because you were moving outside of your character, so you had to accept that
Right,
brought you
yeah,
to a place that you weren't in control of.
right. And you're
Okay.
right, because once I got so embedded in that addiction, man, I ain't had no control. I was powerless. Put it like that, I was powerless. And if the time, like, it, man, look, you gotta go get it. You gotta go get it. That's how he used to talk to me. That's how he used to talk to me. You gotta go get it, man. So because at one time I used to be like, I don't need to go to no program. I'm all right. I'm cool. I'm this and that. I just get high. I ain't no addict though, but at a certain point, and realized I had to accept the fact, like, yeah, I'm an addict. Yeah, because normal people don't do stuff like that.
Right. And so, what would you say is, give me a second. I had the question. I'm just trying to listen to you authentically without thinking so much about what I want to ask. Um, but basically, what I wanted to ask is when you made this exception, well, not exception, when you got to this acceptance and you were no longer in denial about where your drug use had brought you to, and the things that you were doing because of it, what is the most empowering aspect of this acceptance for you?
The most empowering was also accepting God and kind of like praying to God to help me change, and then once I prayed to him, I tried to move better. I try to, had a better behavior, a better way of thinking and stuff like that. Because, like, even though when the drugs and stuff is all gone, it's always, because, I learned that, a lot of stuff is centered in my thinking. And, like, if I think, whatever I think, if I act on it, that's what I'm going to do. Because sometimes thoughts come to your mind without, you don't have no control sometimes. Well, I'm going to say I don't have control sometimes what comes to my mind or what I think. But the thing is, you don't have to act on it, especially if it's in a negative aspect. You ain't got to act on it. So what I did, I just prayed to God to take the taste out of me for the drugs and stuff like that. And then I started doing the necessary things to help alone. Even though you pray, you still got to do some footwork. So what
Absolutely.
I did,
Your actions are important.
right. So what I did, I stopped going around to people, places, and things that I used. Where I used that people I used with. The people that was doing drugs, selling drugs, and all that. I took all their phone numbers out my phone. You know what I'm saying? So, and that did kind of like help me to maintain. Then, of course, I was going to meetings and I was doing step work with my sponsor. So all them things, all them different components right there was help keep me maintained. So
And I think
that's
that the points that you make are important for any time we make significant changes in our lives. It's not it's not just going to happen with us just making actions out of nowhere. If we had gotten familiar or used to certain ways of being, this is something that you have to practice your thoughts, new ways of thinking, new environment.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, like before I really built I kind of say like a foundation with staying clean and stuff like that early on. If the thought came to my mind to get high, that's just what I just went to do. I ain't even give it a second thought. But it's not like that today. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, 3 years and 3 months. To be honest with you, I ain't even thought about using nothing since then.
And
you
that's
know.
that's great. And that's great. But sometimes when we make changes, old thoughts will occur, but we don't have
Yeah,
to
not
act
to
on
say, not saying it ain't gonna occur,
it.
but I'm just saying, as of right now, I haven't had it.
No, no, no. I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just saying in general, when we're doing something new, right? I was just saying
Yeah,
that it doesn't mean that we might not be tempted to do the things that we used to do.
right, right. Like I just, but like you say, it's you got to put the footwork in to stay where you're supposed to be, because like I say, I pray to God, and I believe prayer works. I believe prayer works because you know, um, it been times that uh, certain situations that I've been in, like for real, like the overdose situation. I knew that was God that kept me here. It wasn't no
Hmm.
doctor, it wasn't no human person, or none of that. And I know that's who it was. So that's why I believe in this God, you know. And that situation right there also told me there's a power greater than myself. Because, a lot of stuff I used to thought I was the one that got me out of it and stuff like that. But now I know, that was the power of God, you know. And like, when it comes to that, because my sponsor used to say stuff like, lower your expectation and raise your acceptance. And the reason why she say that, because she said you can't always expect people to be the way you are, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Or do the things that you do, because you'll be disappointed, you know what I'm saying? And she always used to say that, lower your expectation and raise your acceptance, you know. I might did something for you, and then I might expect you to do the same for me, but you don't. And you'll be like, oh, wow. So she always just tell me that, because she say people will let you down, disappoint you, and all that stuff. So lower your expectation and raise your acceptance.
Yeah,
So,
we can definitely get caught up in our expectations, and it can be quite disappointing, right? Because um, when you operate in a sense of, you know, I am doing this because I expect this from you, or, I just feel like a genuine life is one lived when you're doing what you genuinely want to do rather than
yeah,
when you're expecting something in return. It just leaves a lot of room for disappointments. And sometimes we just have a lot of unhealthy expectations, unrealistic expectations.
yeah, right, right.
Was there something else you wanted to say about expectations because you had brought up that point?
No, I just, as I was talking, the thought just came to my mind, like when we used to be talking about expectations. My sponsor always say, like, you just can't always expect people to be like you are, you know. So that's why she always said raise your acceptance, because you might not get back what you put out, you know what I'm saying? So, that's all I wanted to say on that. And that's what I go with. I don't really expect, people to be the way I am. But then I don't change the way I am because of the way people
Now that's
are either.
important. That
You
that's
know
a
what I'm
word
saying?
in itself. Absolutely, you shouldn't change yourself based on how everyone else is. But this can go into so many different things where you're talking about boundaries as well. You can accept people for who they are, but if their energy or their spirit is not good for you, you can definitely create the boundaries that you need to not allow people in your energy that aren't doing you any good. Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's how it is, because like even like working on a job I work on, right? I used to have this young guy work with me sometime, but he don't work there with me no more. They moved to another site. And he always used to say how they always running their mouth, they always minding somebody's business, they be snitching and this and that and other. So I don't know. He young guy, he probably like 20, 21, right? So I don't know how long he had a work history. But I was telling him, I said, man, that's on every job I've been on. They do that. You know what I'm saying? So I was just telling him it was kind of like I ain't saying in them words as far as acceptance, but I just like, man, you know, uh, what you're up against. So I said, man, you just got, that's what they do. So you got to deal with it. You have to keep them in front of you. If you know they be telling or doing this and that, no, don't do nothing to make them go tell on because they used to be worried about how long somebody gone for lunch or, all kind of little stuff. It ain't never bothered me, but it always used to bother him. And, they always used to come to me and saying like, and, a lot of stuff just barreled down or narrowed down to acceptance for real, you know. And I was just like, man, that's who they are.
That makes me think of something that happened today. So there was an email sent out, and it indicated that there could be some significant changes for us, right? And
Right.
my first thought was like, oh, well, I'm kind of used to the way it is. And, but instead of harping on that, my mind, it kind of just like from muscle memory goes to, um, well, how could that be a benefit to me? How could I make that work? What could I do if this change is going to be in place? So I started thinking about all the positive things that I could incorporate with these changes. And so I can tell that some were frustrated by it from what they expressed, only to find that change didn't even apply to us. So I just try not to expend my energy getting upset about things that I don't even really know if that's how it's going to work out, right? But if I am going to think about it, I'm going to try to think about what can I do to make this a positive situation rather than expending so much energy in any negative outcomes that could possibly occur that may not. And that just makes me think of how so much time we spend. I think about how much time we spend always anticipating negative things like, oh my God, if this happens, this will be like this. And half the time it never really works out that way. You spend so much time within yourself getting upset and frustrated about something that you can't control. You don't even know how it's going to happen. And we don't really focus on in these moments, in the current moment that we have. I like to say that life is a series of moments. We cannot get the last one back. We don't know if we're going to be here for the next moment in this particular physical body. All we have is right now, right? And we get so caught up in things in our imagination about things rather than just existing right now. And I think that that also is a big key in accepting, the art of allowing. There are things that are going to happen that are happening as a natural cause of life. And I think about like palm trees blowing in the wind. They don't resist the wind. If they resist the wind, they naturally break. But when you go with it and you've been with these things in life that it brings you, you have a much better and pleasant experience.
Yeah, like that's like going with the flow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point though. You're right, going with the flow. And like I try to for the most part, I try to keep things on a positive aspect too, man, because and I've been dealing with so much negativity for so many years, man. It's like it's time to do something different, man. Positive, just gotta do something positive. So I try to do that every day. I try to do it every day.
And that's a really good practice. That's the only way we can see the changes that we want in our lives is by the vibration that we have, what we put out. Energy is real. And so you reap what you sow, right?
Yeah.
That's a natural law. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you reap what you sow. So yeah, I just try to be positive, man, And I had my daughter, she had a baby now. She's about 5 months. I was out of her life for about like 13 years, right? And when I finally came home and tried to be in her life, she didn't really take to that. She didn't really accept that, and she was like, man, you've been gone all this time, and you think you can just come back home and
So that's it for this episode of Unshaved. Thank you for making time to listen in. Your engagement is very much appreciated. So let me know that you're rocking with the show by sharing this podcast information with others, dropping a comment, clicking the star or like buttons, downloading, subscribing, applauding, or whatever it is that your platform allows you to do. Also, you can show the show some love through donations on Anchor. Remember that when you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you will get to see when we're releasing new episodes and hear the teasers for the upcoming show as well. Just type in Unshaved Podcast. It's my pleasure to share this space with you all. Until the next time, let's continue to live with love and light.